It's day 28 without Formula One. The YouTube ad revenue is on the verge of crashing. Today I nearly made another video on the key to Mazepin just to stay afloat. If there's anyone out there, I do have a Patreon. Yeah, my creativity's running low, can you tell? Hey there guys, I'm Will, welcome to FP1 and the comedy review. For those of you who survived the month-long break between Australia and now, the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Those words alone mean one thing and one thing only. We're due some chaos. Unless we get another 2016, in which case this bit of the video is going to age like Sergio Perez's marriage. We've got a hell of a lot to sink our teeth into today, so let's not waste any more time and get into the comedy review for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
What the hell is going on here? Oh, mamma mia.
4 weeks off means we have a ton of news to cover before we even think about getting into the on-track action. So where better to start than at Ferrari, who've lost yet another figure from the top of their organisation. By the end of 2023, Fred Vasseur might as well be forced to promote one of his cleaning staff to team principal, as Laurent Mekies was announced as the new team principal of AlphaTauri. Franz Tost opting to step down after 16 years at the helm. Tost will be fondly remembered. Sorry, it sounds like he's died or something. Ferrari rolled out black nose cones in the paddock anyway, potentially in remembrance of their 2023 title hopes. Elsewhere in the news, there was drama on F1 Twitter again. Meet the Pit Stop Boys. They're what you get if you ask ChatGPT to make an F1 podcast, and have the personality of an AI drone as well. The pair were caught out the other week when they went on the Screaming Meals podcast and didn't know who anyone was. Their own show was review bombed in the process, and honestly I do feel a little bit bad. One of these men, and look, I don't know which one, has to live his life knowing his name is literally Fab. Back to the real news, there have been changes at Mercedes, the team swapping back the roles of James Allison and Mike Elliott, then claiming a week later they found more gains in 7 days than they had since the start of the season. Poor Mike, man. They might as well just shot him point blank in the face. Finally, I want to talk about Miami. No, I've not gone senile. I do know this is the Azerbaijan comedy review, but I do want to let you know about how you can get the best priced F1 tickets for that race, and for the rest of the 2023 calendar for that matter. I've decided to partner with Headout. They're a ticketing and experiences company who are now offering the most affordable prices to Formula One race events. Let's be honest, going to a Grand Prix nowadays requires you to sell about half of your organs, locking the sport away to only the rich and famous, and Megan Thee Stallion. Headout's prices help bring the sport back to the casual fan, whilst also offering great seats and availability compared to others on the market. They also regularly host giveaways, allowing you the opportunity to save even more on your tickets, or even if you're lucky enough, get them for free. Headout have also been kind enough to offer me and you guys a 30% discount code for their entire site. That includes all their F1 tickets, but also the raft of other experiences that they offer. So if you're planning to attend the race this year and are yet to buy tickets, head out, see what I did there, over to the link in the description below. Use that discount code on screen, and you can thank me later. Let's get into the on-track action then, shall we? And I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. It's the first sprint weekend of the season, meaning everybody was already in high spirits. There were some big changes in store this time round, however, with the sprints now considered standalone events on the Saturday and getting their very own sprint qualifying session. That meant we only had 1 hour of practice before setting the grid for Sunday's race, which soon became less than an hour after Pierre Gasly tried his best Romain Grosjean impression. No, not that one. That's more like it. As Gasly's Alpine got a bit too excited, Kevin Magnussen was also in trouble, leaving his Haas stranded in the Turn 1 runoff. That all led to the first red flag of the weekend. And this week I've decided I'm not using that stupid meme. When we got back underway, the cars began to push the limits of the Baku Street circuit, Yuki Tsunoda clipping the wall in what would turn out to be just him practicing for the sprint later on. There were no surprises on top, however. Max Verstappen edging Leclerc to P1, Ferrari looking like they might actually be able to challenge the Red Bulls this weekend. We'd find out soon enough, as Friday would end with our traditional qualifying session, Gasly taking the time to thank his engineers for fixing the car before saying, "Lol, have fun doing that again tonight." He wasn't the only one in the wall during Q1, as Nick de Vries reminded us that he was racing this season when he went straight into the barrier at turn 3. 2 red flags later, and it was finally time to wrap up the first part of qualifying. Gasly and de Vries joined by Zhou and the 2 Haas cars as we geared up for Q2. This would follow the same format we've seen from most of these sessions in 2023, in that nothing really happened. The only real shock was George Russell failing to make the cut in 11th, Ocon, Bottas and the 2 Williams cars completing the bottom 5 come the end of the 15 minutes. And with just Q3 to go, it was time to lie back, fall asleep and listen to Max Verstappen take pole by a clear minute over the rest of the field. Sure enough, the Dutch Messiah topped the timing tower after the initial runs, but then something strange happened. Another car came across the line to set an identical lap time, and that car was a Ferrari. Not Carlos Sainz though, we're not going that crazy. Charles Leclerc had just put himself in the mix, and on the final runs went that little bit faster to put himself on provisional pole. With Verstappen's Red Bull fishtailing like a Sainsbury's shopping trolley, there was nothing he could do. The Scuderia were on pole position, and given the week Fred Vasseurs had, they kinda needed it. The prancing horses sure couldn't rest up for long though, as it was time to move from qualifying to qualifying. That's sure going to take some getting used to. Saturday's morning session would set the grid for the sprint, and with shorter sessions, there was even less margin for error. SQ1 would see the AlphaTauris, Alfa Romeos and Pierre Gasly fail to make the cut. Through once again though were both Williams drivers, this shocking Logan Sargent so much he drove straight into the wall. 4 more drivers would join the American in the SQ2 drop zone, and for a second, the Aston Martins looked under threat. The team had been plagued by DRS problems all throughout Friday, but claimed they'd fix the issue come sprint qualifying. As it turned out, these claims were about as accurate as the ones you find on adult website advertisements. With the aid of Alonso, Stroll was able to sneak through regardless, leaving Piastri, Hülkenberg, Ocon and Magnussen out as we entered SQ3. 10 cars were meant to compete here, but thanks to the FIA, Lando Norris couldn't even leave the garage. The shootout rules state all cars have to run new soft tyres for that final SQ3 session, and since Norris didn't have any remaining, that was his day done unless he wanted to try and qualify on full wets. No joke, that actually made it into the rulebook, but this oversight still somehow slipped under the rug. The top 9 shootout would see Leclerc come out victorious once again, though with the Red Bull still on a lap, he conveniently found himself in the wall to bring out the yellow flags. In true Ferrari fashion, however, the only car he impeded was his own teammate. Now that's more like what we expected coming into the weekend. The big challenge for the Scuderia was staying ahead in the races though, and with Logan Sargent being withdrawn due to his crash earlier on, the chance of a safety car helping them out just got a lot lower. Charles would get away well off the line as George Russell sent one down the inside of a slow starting Max Verstappen. This reckless driving made the Dutchman very angry, claiming post-race that Russell was great at coming up with excuses for his actions before going on to blame cold tyres and being on the outside of the corner. That wasn't the only drama in the sprint, as the AlphaTauri drivers allegedly made contact on lap 1. The team though was so irrelevant at this stage that we were never shown this on the live feed. What was shown was Yuki Tsunoda seemingly forgetting how a corner works and driving straight into the wall. This gave him a right rear puncture and suspension damage, but since Red Bull needed a safety car, the sister team sent him back out on his merry way. Now let's see how many subscribers I lose after that joke. With the field backed up, Verstappen was able to make it past Russell for 3rd, and soon after his teammate Sergio Perez slotted up into the lead as Leclerc remembered that he was driving a Ferrari. I could cover the rest of the sprint, but for the sake of time, nothing really happened after that. Perez took the win, which as I record this on a Saturday night, I think we've all already forgotten about. Here's hoping the actual Grand Prix can be a little more interesting. Before we get there though, I'd like to take the time to remind you to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the video so far. Okay, now let's get into Sunday. Leclerc and Verstappen would get an even start off the line as everyone, more or less, made it cleanly round turn 1. With the Ferrari in the lead then, it was time to place your bets. Would Verstappen stream past on the straight, or would Leclerc explode before the Dutchman had a chance? It would only take 4 laps before Max threw one down the inside at turn 1, with Perez following suit a couple of tours later. The hopes of an interesting race then were now seemingly lost. good thing Nick de Vries exists, the AlphaTauri driver using all of his Formula E street racing experience as he binned his car in the wall for the second time this weekend. Verstappen and Red Bull immediately dived into the pit lane, but they were too early. The safety car waiting for Lewis to pit so they could screw him over. That ended up benefiting Perez and shuffling him into the lead, which I'm sure wasn't in the Verstappen camp's run plan. Leclerc would also jump ahead of Max into P2, this lasting all of 5 seconds on the restart as the sister Ferrari of Sainz was bullied out the way by Alonso and the Aston Martin. Fernando was being strangely helpful this weekend, working with his teammates in the early phases, and even suggesting brake balance setups for Stroll's car. 2 laps later, Stroll careered off the road and handed P6 to Lewis Hamilton. That's more like the Alonso we know and love. That brings us to the halfway point in the race, meaning it was time for Max Verstappen to complain about having imaginary engine issues. And as we all waited for the fastest lap that comes after, Pierre Gasly made a daring move on Valtteri Bottas for 18th position. Kinda sums up how both of their seasons are going, that doesn't it? Things were going even worse for the second Alfa Romeo of Zhou Guanyu, the Chinese driver peeling into the pits to become the second retiree of the day. Could he have not just conveniently, stopped in the castle section though? Wake the rest of us up? Fact is, this race could really have done with an extra safety car, but given the race stewards had also fallen asleep, that wasn't gonna happen. Sergio Perez would cross the line on lap 51 to take home his second race win of the season, Verstappen and Leclerc rounding out the podium. For those of us that were still awake, we did get a tiny amount of drama at the end, as Esteban Ocon nearly turned his Alpine into a meat grinder, pitting on the final lap to find a ton of photographers standing in his way. As Stefano Domenicali went to grab his shotgun and an FIA official was spotted necking it out of the Baku street circuit as fast as he could, we reflect on what was, well, let's be honest, not the most enthralling race we've ever seen. On the bright side, it's a testament to the rest of the races we've had this season, when Baku is the least exciting one we've had so far, though we're off to Miami next, so at least our expectations will be rock bottom to begin with for that one. There will no doubt be talk over whether Perez can now take the fight to Max Verstappen, even though we all know the answer to that is not going to happen. And of course, we'll have to see what comes out of F1's attempt at Squid Game on the final lap. That's sure going to have some repercussions for those at fault. I hope this video though made up for the lack of drama. If you enjoyed it, it would really mean a lot if you gave it a like and got subscribed to the channel. We've seen mega growth since the start of the season, so thank you so much for all the support so far. Another big thank you to Headout once again for sponsoring this video, and a huge cheers goes to all my patrons and channel members. If you want to get involved in any of that, head down to the links in the description below. For now though, that's all from me, so I'll see you soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.